What's up, guys? Welcome to the IT Tutoring for You channel, and today I am your guru, Kareem, and I want you guys to know something. I'm excited. Why am I excited? Because today I get to show you how to set up and configure Windows Server 2016 inside of VMware Workstation 14 Player. Now, if you guys are new to VMware Workstation 14 Player, no worries. Everything you need will be right there in the description, the ISOs, how to get to the program so you can download it, and from there you guys should be good to go. Now, I understand that in the title, the thumbnail, and the description, I have the word easy thrown around. I know there's a bunch of videos out there like this video that says that it's going to be easy, but I promise you, I'm going to keep this video as straight to the point as possible. I'm not going to do anything that's going to confuse you. I'm not going to include any steps that are going to be unclear because I want you guys to understand it, especially if you're a beginner. If you're just someone who's an enthusiast, if you're a novice, this is going to be the video for you. If you're a pro and you know what you're doing, then you're probably not going to be watching this video. But anyway, I know you guys don't really like the long introductions, and so we're going to cut that out and get straight to the point. So once you have VMware Workstation 14 Player open, the first thing that you want to do is click File, New Machine. From there, you want to make sure that your ISO is detected. If you already have it downloaded, you can browse to wherever it is on your computer. Once it detects it, it'll let you know, and then from there you can click Next. And the next thing that you'll run into is the easy install information. You don't need to fill out much besides what you want to personalize your Windows to, and where I'm going to call mine Sandbox. So from Sandbox, you can title yours whatever you want. That's just what I choose to use, and then we're going to click Next. This little prompt here, all it's saying is you didn't put in a product key, which is perfectly fine. You're going to click Next. Then the next thing you can do is change the virtual machine name. All that's going to do is change the name that you see in here. If you want, you can also change the location, which I'm going to do because I just like to keep my stuff tidy. As you can see, I have a drive called Virtual Machines. So what I'm going to do is stick it in the Sandbox folder because this is going to be called Sandbox all throughout. And then from there, once you have yours set up correctly, or if you want to leave it the way that it was, you can click Next. By default, Windows recommends that you have at least 35 gigs worth of storage space on the server. I'm going to use 40, and I'm going to store it as a virtual disk. Store the virtual disk as a single file. And then from there, you click Next. You don't want to power it on just yet because we got some things that we want to change, starting with the network adapter. We don't want to leave it on that because it'll use your host network settings, which is going to be problematic if you intend on adding machines to the Sandbox network. So what you want to do is set it to custom. From custom, you want to click one of these VM nets. I typically use 10. You can use any of the other ones. I'd stay away from this one and that one too, just because it's not going to give you the desired results that I mentioned previously. So I mean, you can pick whichever number is your favorite, but again, I like to go with 10. Once you have yours selected, you're going to close that, and then you're going to finish the wizard. Once you do that, as you can see, it's going to pop it in here, and we don't want to power it on just yet. You want to right click on it, go back into the settings, and what you want to do is delete this floppy here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to tell you why. Inside of that floppy is an answer file for all of the easy install information that we pretty much skipped. What the setup is going to do is once it gets to the actual installation, what it's going to do is look for that file and use that file for that information. But obviously, if it's not there, what's going to happen is it's going to time out, and then it's going to terminate the installation because it can't find any of that information because we didn't put it in. So to just circumvent all of that, we're just going to delete it all together, and that's going to take us straight into the install. So once you remove it, you're going to click OK. And then after you click OK, it's time to boot the thing up. Now, once it powers on, you're going to see where it says press any key. Make sure you click inside of the VM, and once you see that, press any key. I typically use the space bar. You see I did that. As soon as you do that, it's going to say loading files, and then it's going to be ready for the setup. So once the setup is ready to go, I'll show you guys how to get things going. It might take a little bit before it gets to the setup, so I'll pause the video for now, and then we'll come back when it's time to really get things going. All right, guys, so we are back, and as you can see, the setup is ready to go. Make sure that everything is proper. You want to make sure English is selected if that is your language. If it's not, then you can edit it to be whatever it is that you need. And once that's set up, you want to click next, then install now. So as you can see, the setup is starting, and from here, I believe the next thing that we're gonna do is set up the drive space. Well, actually, it's select the operating system. Sorry, I have my things mixed in out of order. So what we want to do is select Windows Server 2016 desktop experience. It is important that you guys select this version because any other version is not going to give you what you want. I've actually never used the data center version, so I can't tell you exactly what the differences are, but as you can see, there's a description here. So if you don't want to use the standard evaluation with the desktop experience, feel free to use whichever one you want. But this is what we're going to use because this is going to take us to what I believe it is that we're all looking for. So you want to click next after you have that selected. You can read through this if you want, but if you don't, you can just accept it and click next. This is not an upgrade. It's actually a custom install. You see that 40 gigs that I typed in there. What you want to do is select next after you have selected whichever amount of unallocated space it was that you allocated for this setup. So once you do that, you're going to click next, and then the installation is going to proceed. So there's not really much that happens after this, but I'm still going to show you guys a few things that you still need to set up once you get in. We need to change some settings in the NIC. We need to rename the server, and optionally you can add remoting capabilities if you like. And we want to turn off the firewall too, because that could also cause potential problems. So once this gets done, we're going to pick right back up where we left off, and I'm going to show you guys the rest to get you guys rolling. So I'll see you guys then. All right, guys, so we are back. Everything is completely installed, and what's going to happen is it's going to reboot a few times. It should only be one time, but if it does, if more than one time, don't even be alarmed, because that's pretty natural occurrence when it comes to doing this installation, guys. So once it comes back, the next thing that you want to do is set up a password for your local administrator account. I'm going to set up a password that I like to use that I spelled wrong. Type it in one more time. All right. And once that's done, it's going to finalize the settings, and then it's going to take us to our desktop. Of course, after we log in. So Control-Alt-Delete is going to be up here. You can click that. It's going to input that, and then from there, you want to type in the password that you just made. But then it's going to take us to our desktop. For real this time. And then once it does that, we're going to do some of the things that I mentioned prior to the installation completing, starting with configuring the NIC. You want to give it a static IP because there is no DHCP server, so you're kind of forced to do that just to start things off. And you also want to set the trend for the rest of the addresses that the network is going to use. So the moment that I can do that, after this is done loading, I will get straight to it. And there goes our NIC down bottom. So you want to open Network and Troubleshooting Center, change adapter settings. Ethernet 0 is what you should see. Right click, properties. We're going to be looking for the IPv4 settings, which is this right here. And then you're going to click properties. From there, you see how it sets to obtain IP address automatically? Well, that's if in the event that there's already a DHCP server, but there isn't. So we're going to use the following address that we specify. Now you can use whichever type of IP address convention that you like to use, but for my sandbox setup, I'm going to use 192.168.1.1. The subnet mask will autofill. It should be 255 three times and a 0 at the end. We're going to make the gateway 192, which is, that's not 192, but we're going to make it 192.168.1.1. DNS is going to be the exact same. You guessed it, 192.168.1.1. Once you have that set, you're going to click OK, and then we're going to close that out. So now our NIC has a static IP, and then the next thing that we want to do is configure the firewall settings. So what we want to do is type in firewall after clicking on the flag. Once that's there, we're going to find, it says no results. There we go. You back space a little bit, then it finds it. Once that's there, you're going to click Windows Firewall Properties. We are going to turn this profile off. I believe it's safe to just keep this one off, and it may be fine if all the others are on, but I like to turn all of them off just because it gives me a peace of mind. Plus, in a real live environment, you're actually going to have a physical firewall that's taking care of all of your firewall needs. So you're going to have it off in a real live setting anyway. So this is great practice to turn it completely off. Once that's off, we're going to do that. And then the next thing we're going to do is right click on the flag, go to System, and then we want to click Remote Settings. This is totally optional, but it kind of makes it easier for server administration, especially in a real-time environment. You want to be able to access your server from pretty much any workstation if in the event you don't feel like walking to the server room to get to a server or logging in using your account. You can actually allow remote connections. Click OK there for that prompt, and then click OK, and then from there all you have to do is put in the server name, the host name, or the IP, add your admin credentials, and then boom, you're in the server while in whichever workstation you're in at that time. But speaking of host address, we want to change our host address here in the system menu. If you don't remember how to get there, you can right click on the flag and then click system, and then it'll open up this window. As you can see, that's where we click remote settings. But looking here at the computer name, you can see that it was provided some random default computer name, which is fine if you can remember all of that. But most organizations use a naming scheme for their devices just to make it easier for auditing purposes, administrator purposes. So we're going to do the same exact thing, and in order to do that, you want to change the settings by clicking there. You want to change the name there, and then it's going to highlight it. You can just backspace and call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call it Sandbox Server. I'm going to call it Server 2 because I don't know if you guys remember, but I kind of already have a Sandbox server. So just so that there's no confusion, when I decide that I want to add this to that domain, I'm just going to call it Server 2 so there's no conflicting duplicate names. So once you have yours named whatever you want, you can click OK. It's going to tell you that in order to complete this, you need to reboot. You can do that right away once you leave out, or you can do it later. We're going to do it right now because everything else is done. So this is pretty much going to be the last step. So I'm going to restart now. I'll pause the video, come back, and I'll give you guys the last bit of information you need. All right, guys, so we are back. Our server has restarted, and we want to confirm that the name has been changed. So remember, we're going to right click, system, and then from there we should see a server with a new name and not that generic funky name that we've seen before. And as you can see, it is renamed to Sandbox Server -2. You will see whatever name it is that you configured yours to be. And now that we know that the name has been changed, that is literally the last step in setting up your Windows Server 2016. Now, What we haven't done is configured any roles. If you'd like to see how roles are configured, such as Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, file server, web server, what you can do, guys, is check out a bunch of my other videos that I have on my channel. This is actually going to be a continuating series showing you guys how to install and set up certain roles, and then from there we'll add a workstation to the domain, and then from there I'll show you guys all types of cool tricks in group policy that will really help in a real live environment. So if you guys really liked what I showed you today, and if it was as easy as I said it would be in the beginning, just give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to continue watching the videos and get notifications on what's going on in the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. So I hope to see you guys next time, but until then, it's been real, guys. Like I said, my name is Kareem. This is the IT Tutoring for You channel, and so long.